Yes, welcome back. Let's read some more. It's 4 p.m. I start to get tired and I need to cook some hot food later. I did write a lot more down. My computer crashed. I have only 3 pages, but that will take really long time to read. Take a long minute, like the whole month. So I will read a few days more about Nazi Germany, then I think I have to change my subject. Because I was reading, I like to reading something else than Nazi Germany.
Nazi concentration camps. Page extended protected. Nazi concentration camps is located in Germany. Dachau. Dachau Mauthausen. Mauthausen Ravensbrück. Ravensbrück Flossenburg. Flossenburg Sachsenhausen. Sachsenhausen Buchenwald. Buchenwald Neuengamme. Neuengamme Auschwitz. Auschwitz Majdanek. Majdanek Krakau Plaza. Krakau Plaza Natzweilerstraße. Natzweilerstraße Stutthof. Stutthof Bergen-Belsen. Bergen-Belsen Gross-Rosen. Gross-Rosen Mittelbau. Mittelbau Warsaw. Warsaw Hinzert. Hinzert all of the main camps except Arbiersdorf, Herzogenbusch-Schniederhagen, Kauen, Kaiserwald, and Wegerer, 1937 borders. Color-coded by date of establishment as a main camp. Blue for 1933, 1937. Gray for 1938, 1939. Red for 1940, 1941. Green for 1942, yellow for 1943, 1944. From 1933 to 1945, Nazi Germany operated more than 1,000 concentration camps. German concentrationslager, A, including subcamps, B, on its own territory and in parts of German-occupied Europe. The first camps were established in March 1933, immediately after Adolf Hitler became Chancellor of Germany. Following the 1934 purge of the SA, the concentration camps were run exclusively by the SS via the Concentration Camps Inspectorate and later SS Main Economic and Administrative Office. Initially, most prisoners were members of the Communist Party of Germany, but as time went on, different groups were arrested, including habitual criminals, asocials, and Jews. After the beginning of World War II, people from German-occupied Europe were imprisoned in the concentration camps. About 1.65 million people were registered prisoners in the camps, of whom about 1 million died during their imprisonment. C. Most of the fatalities occurred during the second half of World War II, including at least a third of the 700,000 prisoners who were registered as of January 1945. Following Allied military victories, the camps were gradually liberated in 1944 and 1945, although hundreds of thousands of prisoners died in the death marches. Museums commemorating the victims of the Nazi regime have been established at many of the former camps, and the Nazi concentration camp system has become a universal symbol of violence and terror. Background. Concentration camps are conventionally held to have been invented by the British during the Second Boer War, but historian Dan Stone argues that there were precedents in other countries and that camps were the logical extension of phenomena that had long characterized colonial rule. 4. Although the word concentration camp has acquired the connotation of murder because of the Nazi concentration camps, the British camps in South Africa did not involve systematic murder. The German Empire also established concentration camps during the Herero and Namakwa genocide, 1904-1907. The death rate of these camps was 45%, twice that of the British camps. 5. During the First World War, 8 to 9 million prisoners of war were held in prisoner of war camps, some of them at locations which were later the sites of Nazi camps, such as Theresienstadt and Mauthausen. Many prisoners held by Germany died as a result of intentional withholding of food and dangerous working conditions in violation of the 1907 Hague Convention. 6. In countries such as France, Belgium, Italy, Austria-Hungary, and Germany, civilians deemed to be of enemy origin were denaturalized. Hundreds of thousands were interned and subject to forced labor in harsh conditions. 7. During the Armenian genocide perpetrated by the Ottoman Empire, Ottoman Armenians were held in camps during their deportation into Syrian desert. 8. In post-war Germany, unwanted foreigners, mainly Eastern European Jews, were warehoused at Cottbus and Stargard. 9. History. Early camps, 1933-1934. Prisoners guarded by some men line up in the yard of Oranienburg, 6 April 1933. On the 30th of January 1933, Adolf Hitler became Chancellor of Germany after striking a backroom deal with the previous Chancellor, Franz von Papen. 10. The Nazis had no plan for concentration camps prior to their seizure of power. 11. The concentration camp system arose in the following months due to the desire to suppress tens of thousands of Nazi opponents in Germany. The Reichstag fire in February 1933 was the pretext for mass arrests. The Reichstag fire decree eliminated the right to personal freedom enshrined in the Weimar Constitution and provided a legal basis for detention without trial. 10. 12. The first camp was Nora, established on 3 March 1933 in a school. 13. The number of prisoners in 1933-1934 is difficult to determine. Historian Jane Kaplan estimated it at 50,000, with arrests perhaps exceeding 100,000. 13. 80% of prisoners were members of the Communist Party of Germany and 10% members of the Social Democratic Party of Germany. 14. Many prisoners were released in late 1933, and after a Christ-Mass amnesty, there were only a few dozen camps left. 15. About 70 camps were established in 1933, in any convenient structure that could hold prisoners, including vacant factories, prisons, country estates, schools, workhouses, and castles. 13. 12. There was no national system. Winking sad smiley. 15. Camps were operated by local police, SS, and SAT, state interior ministries, or a combination of the above. 13. 12. The early camps in 1933-1934 were heterogeneous and fundamentally differed from the post-1935 camps in organization, conditions, and groups imprisoned. 16. Institutionalization, 1934-1937. On the 26th of June, 1933, Himmler appointed Theodor Eicke II commandant of Dachau, which became a model followed by other camps. Eicke drafted the Disciplinary and Penal Code, a manual which specified draconian punishments for disobedient prisoners. 17. He also created a system of prisoner functionaries, which later developed into the camp elders, block elders, and capo of later camps. 18. In May 1934, Lichtenberg was taken over by the SS from the Prussian bureaucracy, marking the beginning of a transition set in motion by Heinrich Himmler, then chief of the Gestapo, secret police. 19. Following the purge of the Saron. 30. June 1934, in which Ike took a leading role, the remaining Saron camps were: Heinrich Himmler inspects Dachau on the 8th of May 1936. Taken over by the SS. 14. 20. In December 1934, Ike Weiss appointed the first inspector of the concentration camps inspectorate, IKL. Only camps managed by the IKL were designated concentration camps. 14. Prisoners at Sachsenhausen. 19 December 1938. In early 1934, the number of prisoners was still falling and it was uncertain if the system would continue to exist. By mid-1935, there were only 5 camps, holding 4,000 prisoners, and 13 employees at the central IKL office. At the same time, 100,000 people were imprisoned in German jails, a quarter of those for political offenses. 21. Believing Nazi Germany to be imperiled by internal enemies, Himmler called for a war against the organized elements of subhumanity, including communists, socialists, Jews, Freemasons, and criminals. Himmler won Hitler's backing and was appointed chief of German police on the 17th of June 1936. 22. Of the 6 SS camps operational as of mid-1936, only 2, Dachau and Lichtenberg, still existed by 1938. In the place of the camps that closed down, Ike opened new camps at Sachsenhausen, September 1936, and Buchenwald, July 1937. Unlike earlier camps, the newly opened camps were purpose-built, isolated from population and the rule of law, enabling the SS to exert absolute power. 23. Prisoners, who previously wore civilian clothes, were forced to wear uniforms with Nazi concentration camp badges. The number of prisoners began to rise again, from 4,761 on 1 November 1936 to 7,750 by the end of 1937. 24. Rapid expansion, 1937-1939. Forced labor at Sachsenhausen brickworks. By the end of June 1938, the prisoner population had expanded threefold in the previous 6 months, to 24,000 prisoners. The increase was fueled by arrests of those considered habitual criminals or asocials. 24. According to SS Chief Heinrich Himmler, the criminal prisoners at concentration camps needed to be isolated from society because they had committed offenses of a sexual or violent nature. In fact, most of the criminal prisoners were working-class men who had resorted to petty theft to support their families. 25. Nazi raids of perceived asocials, including the arrest of 10,000 people in June 1938. 26. Targeted homeless people and the mentally ill, as well as the unemployed. 27. Although the Nazis had previously targeted social outsiders, the influx of new prisoners meant that political prisoners became a minority. 26. To house the new prisoners, 3 new camps were established. Flossenburg, May 1938, near the Czechoslovak border. Mauthausen, August 1938, in territory annexed from Austria, and Ravensbrück, May 1939, the first purpose-built camp for female prisoners. 24. The mass arrests were partly motivated by economic factors. Recovery from the Great Depression lowered the unemployment rate, so work-shy elements would be arrested to keep others working harder. At the same time, Himmler was also focusing on exploiting prisoners' labor within the camp system. Hitler's architect Albert Speer, had grand plans for creating monumental Nazi architecture. The SS Company German Earth and Stone Works, DEST, was set up with funds from Speer's agency for exploiting prisoner labor to extract building materials. Flossenburg and Mauthausen had been built adjacent to quarries, and DEST also set up brickworks at Buchenwald and Sachsenhausen. 28, 29. Political prisoners were also arrested in